It's the SNL Hall of Fame podcast with your host, Jamie Dew, Chief Librarian Thomas Senna, and featuring Matt Ardill. And now, curator of the hall, Jamie Dew.
All right, we are back. It is season 2. My name is Jamie Dew. I am host and curator here at the SNL Hall of Fame podcast. Before entering the hall, I ask you all to please wipe your feet. This is, after all, a very sacred place. We have an initial class, the class of 2022, and here we are in season 2 getting ready to put together the class of 2023. It's this easy. Every week you tune in to the SNL Hall of Fame podcast and you'll hear a guest. In today's case, you'll hear Kirstin Turnbull, and she'll be nominating Bill Hader. At the end of the season, when all 30 nominees have been nominated, we will open the voting and you can get your hands dirty because we want you to vote for your favorites, vote early, vote often. Register to vote on any of the links that you see coming out on our socials. This way you'll get a reminder when it's time to vote and everything will just be ducky. So we've got some changes going on around here. Thomas Senna has been introduced to the masses at this point in the special preview episode. I think you're going to love the conversations that he puts together. I know that I've really enjoyed what I've heard so far, and I think that you'll enjoy it quite as well. The other new feature is at the end of every episode, we'll be playing the nominee sketch or segment, a segment that our guest has chosen to play. So stick around post conversation and check that out. But now we're going to slide into something entirely new. This is Matt's Minutia Minute featuring local Toronto stand-up comedian Matt Ardill. We're calling him Matt. He is hosting something called Matt's Minutia Minute, and he'll be doing that each and every week. So look forward to that. It's not going to be strictly about minutia, nor will it be a minute long, but I love alliteration. So Matt's Minutia Minute, it is. Hey, Matt, what are you saying?
Hey, Jamie, thanks for having me on the show today to talk about Bill Hader, one of the greatest impersonators to grace the stages of Saturday Night Live.
It's absolutely my pleasure to have you here and to know that you'll be here every week with some valuable insight and content on that week's nominee.
There's so many great nominees this season. I'm really looking forward to being able to dig out some of the stuff that maybe they didn't make it into the conversations that people might want to consider when they're casting their votes.
Absolutely. So, like you said, Bill Hader, what you got?
Well, he's 6'1", born June 7th in 1978, eldest of 3. It doesn't really matter, but it's nice to know. His first season was 2005, season 31. Terrific season. Had Tina Fey, Will Forte, Daryl Hammond, Amy Poehler, Fred Armisen, Maya Rudolph. So right there, already, that's like an incredible cast of impersonators with great characters. On top of that, he had Kristen Wiig, Jason Sudeikis, and Andy Samberg joining him as featured players that year.
Holy.
So, yeah, like three more powerhouses in addition to himself joining the cast. So it's a pretty prestigious group that he worked with. Yeah. Now he lasted 8 seasons. He outlasted the 7-year contract, but decided after season 8 that he was going to call it quits. But he has recorded 805 sketches, so he's got 7th overall after.
I was just going to ask, where does that rank?
Yeah, 7th after Kate. So it's a lot of sketches. I mean, nobody's ever going to touch Keenan at this point.
I guess not.
but yeah. So I mean, personally, I love his impersonations, like his Vincent Price and his Alan Alda, which probably speaks to my age a bit. And I mean, everybody loves Stefon, but it's he brings a lot to the table.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation that Thomas has with Kirstin Turnbull today. And what do you say we get right to that?
Sounds great.
So with Bill Hader, I wanted to start off maybe a little differently than with a lot of episodes, and maybe briefly kind of touch on his journey to SNL, because I think it's actually a kind of a unique thing compared to other cast members. So, he worked in movie production and on movie sets and stuff, but in March of 2003, he took classes at Second City in LA. So we'll keep that in mind, March of 2003. I don't know if you knew, through your research, he formed the comedy group Animals from the Future with 3 friends. One of them was Matt Offerman. And if that last name sounds familiar, it's because that's Nick Offerman's brother, Matt Offerman. So Megan Mullally, who's married to Nick Offerman, went and saw the group perform. And then to Bill Hader's luck and talent, but a lot of luck, she talked to Lorne Michaels about Bill Hader not long after seeing them perform. And then Hader was kind of on the fast track to audition for the show. And so we said, March 2003 was when he started taking classes at Second City. October 1st, 2005, he's on SNL. Have you ever heard anything like that?
That is a fast track. And it really validates the anxiety he had around being on the show for so many years, a lot of imposter syndrome, which is all in his head. And I love that at one point, Lorne said to him, "You're not going anywhere. You always have a job here. Like, you can relax now," because he just needed to hear that to really feel like he belonged, because he had to have felt like people had sweat through years and years of training and auditioned multiple times. And he really did get a red carpet. Deservedly so.
Yeah, deservedly so. But, I'm sure, when he got on the show, he may have looked at a lot of these other cast members and known that they spent years in improv and everything. So maybe that's where a lot of that imposter syndrome comes from. And I think a lot of creative types kind of have that imposter syndrome as well. Yeah. So do you remember, I don't know where you were as far as watching the show in 2005, but do you remember when Bill Hader first started making an impression on you?
I think it was I remember Vincent Price, like knowing that he was a great impressionist. That was one of my first memories.
Greetings, weary travelers. My name is Vincent Price. Tonight I offer you passage into the darkest recesses of the supernatural.
And then Laser Cats.
Oh, yes.
Laser Cats I distinctly remember, so that definitely made an impression. So those are my first two. It's just, okay, he's great at impressions and Laser Cats, because that was so wacky and bizarre, and it introduced both him and Andy Samberg to the masses in this really fun way.
Yeah, so Vincent Price was actually relatively early on in his tenure. It was the 6th episode of his first season, and those sketches were just, we talk about current SNL, and there's almost like an impression parade type of sketch, and those Vincent Price sketches were definite impression parades. And, compared to other impressionists before him and maybe even during and after, where would you rank, or how in high regard do you hold Bill Hader just as far as an impressionist goes in SNL
Master
lore?
impressionist.
Mm-hmm.
Master. You've got a Phil Hartman. You've got, oh goodness, what's his name? He was on the show for decades.
There was Dana Carvey, who's an amazing impressionist. Daryl Hammond.
Daryl Hammond, thank you.
Yes.
Daryl Hammond, yes. Sorry, Daryl Hammond. I think of their ability to do impressions, but I think the range on Bill Hader is huge. He uses his face, his forehead, his eyebrows, like he can contort almost a little bit Jim Carrey-like without the manic side of things. Mm-hmm. I consider him a master, so he's top of the pack for me when it comes to impressions. How about you?
Yeah, I think, we had mentioned Dana Carvey and Daryl Hammond. Bill Hader is probably on that Mount Rushmore of impressionists. And, I don't know about you, but what I look for in a good impressionist is not only, it's fine if they sound and look like the person, but there has to be a comedic viewpoint. They have to say something funny with the impression. And Bill Hader reminded me a little bit maybe of a Dana Carvey in that, he did sound like a lot like, well, for example, you brought up Vincent Price. Mm-hmm. And he did sound a lot like Vincent Price, but there was just that little bit of cartoon that he threw into that impression. And he found a comedic slant with that. Vincent Price was kind of the, he had a lot of nervous energy with Vincent Price kind of trying to wrangle in all of these Katharine Hepburn and Liberace and all these people who came on the show. So that's the comedic angle that I think Bill Hader found Vincent Price. Maybe you noticed that with some of his other impressions. Yeah,
you raise an interesting point, because I do think, yes, he gets the voices down. He gets the mannerisms and the facial tics and all those things, but he does embody them. And I wonder if it's because he's so darn good at it that he doesn't have to overthink in the moment how it's coming off. Where other people, I know if I tried to do impression, I would agonize over every moment of it.
Oh yeah,
where
same.
he gets to sit in a little more comfort knowing that he's really kind of nailing that part. So he gets to let loose a little bit and have some fun with it and think about the motivation of that character that he's impersonating and what they might say and really live in it a little bit, which is more of an actor's skill, really.
Yeah, no, we've seen his acting skills over the years with Barry on HBO, and so it's not a surprise, given what you said, that he's doing a great job acting on Barry, given his traits that you had mentioned as an impressionist. And I think that's a good point you brought up about how he's so in command of his craft that he's able just to I have that part down, I can mimic the person, so check. He checked that box, so then now I can live in this space and actually create something funny out of it. I think you nailed it as far as what a great impressionist he is. Of course, Al Pacino. He did Peter O'Toole, Willem Dafoe. I think he was their go-to guy.
Alan Alda.
Yes, Alan Alda. Yeah. Who has, you would think about it, I've never really heard somebody do an Alan Alda impression, but a lot of people should have Alan Alda impressions because he's distinct, but Bill Hader just nails it. He completely nails it. But I think it was Alan Alda he did in maybe the Jurassic Park auditions. Right? I don't know if you remember that. Yes, you remember that. Yes. Yeah. And it was Alan Alda, he got the point of view of Alan Alda, was asking questions about the movie and kind of complimenting, being kind of a nice guy, kind of complimenting, oh, this sounds like a great movie or whatever. So it's not just that Bill sounded like Alan Alda. He created a whole persona that was probably on screen for 15, 20 seconds, but you still felt like Bill really created something there.
That's right. James Carville.
Oh,
John Malkovich.
Oh, yeah.
Malkovich as his Italian host.
Vinny Vedecci.
Yes. Which you had mentioned previously, that first appearance wasn't a talk show, and I don't remember that. So tell me about that, because I don't remember that part.
It was just a sketch, even forget what the sketch was about, but Vinny Vedecci was actually just a character in a sketch, much like somebody who we'll talk about, I'm sure, in this podcast who appeared on Weekend Update, but he actually appeared in a sketch first. Vinny Vedecci was just some character, just in a sketch, and I think probably Bill's comedic instincts were on point, and he decided to turn Vinny Vedecci into a talk show, and that talk show format was just perfect for that. But that was one wonderful, maybe like my favorite Vinny Vedecci sketch was with John Malkovich.
Yeah.
Being John Malkovich.
Yes.
Malkovich.
Yes, that's from the film.
I can be John Malkovich.
I'm sorry?
Hello, my name is John Malkovich.
I don't sound anything like that.
No, you sound exactly like this.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was amazing. And you had mentioned laser cats, and that's something that I had taken note of too. What about laser cats did you enjoy, and specifically Bill in Laser Cats?
I think when I reflect back on it, it was one of the it talks to one of the things that I really enjoy about watching him on screen is that he appears to me to be a great collaborator. We know he's got some writing skills, he's got some kind of behind the scenes skills, but he comes across as someone who's in service of the sketch and not looking for the spotlight. And so seeing him and Andy work together and seeing the cohesion among the cast members, certainly at that time, there was a very equal footing where they were all contributing so much to the scenes and sketches they were doing. So I thought of that as what looked like a true friendship on screen. Mm-hmm. So it became very believable in what they were doing. And my other takeaway would be just this real genuine love for appearing silly and having no ego or, about that. And the humility that comes with signing up to do something silly, like shoot lasers out of cats' eyes.
Yeah, I imagine Andy's pitch to Bill that I have this idea and I want you to be a part of it, and here's what it is. And Bill, I'm sure he understood Andy's comedic sensibility right away. I think they came on the same season.
They did. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. So it's nice to see two cast members come in at the same time and kind of form that partnership. It's almost strength in numbers, because that can be an intimidating environment there behind the scenes.
Yeah. And that partnership then, moved into a writing partnership with everyone who knows my fave is John Mulaney. Mm-hmm. And so those kind of alliances that he made on that show have really served him well in several ways when it comes to producing great content.
Yeah, definitely. That's, part of surviving on the show, but if you're a cast member, is that forming maybe alliances, I guess, given the environment, alliances might actually be an appropriate word. Partnerships will be nice and call them partnerships. Yeah. Just finding a partnership with a writer, you're exactly right. And definitely he and John Mulaney seem to have a really special bond there, for sure. So I think I want to ask you, I'm sure this, let's talk about Stefon. I think you brought up John Mulaney. Mm-hmm. I think this is probably a good point in the conversation to bring up Stefon. I assume you're a Stefon fan?
Yes, absolutely. Stefon was when we wanted to see someone break. Mm-hmm. Before it would happen, and it would be perhaps funny or, depending on how often someone did it, but we were waiting for him to break. It became part of the bit that we knew something really inane and silly was going to come out of his mouth, and that it may also be a surprise to him. Although I don't know that we knew that at the time, but it certainly appeared that way, that he couldn't even contain his own laughter at reading those lines. Yeah. So that, it was one of the, I can't think of another time when I knew that something funny was going to happen, and he did too, and we were waiting for him to read the lines and waiting for it to happen, and we wanted him to break.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about breaking in these Stefon sketches, or not sketches, these Weekend Update appearances, was that was part of the game of the sketch. Mm-hmm. That was part of the game of the character. Is, he's this club kid who gives inappropriate advice to families visiting New York City and New York's hottest club, and so that's the game of it, is filling in those numbers of what's at New York's hottest club, but also the breaking aspect. It became okay as an audience member that they were breaking, and Lorne Michaels famously doesn't like breaking. But
right.
Yeah. He says, I've heard cast members, Kate McKinnon, I've heard recently do an interview saying that like Lorne hates breaking and everything like that. So I have a feeling Lorne was okay with this kind of breaking because it was actually part of the game of the sketch, for sure. So what I noticed with these Stefon sketches is, at first, maybe the first sketch or the first Weekend Update appearance from Stefon, the audience, the first few jokes, they were kind of like, I can kind of feel it in the room, like, well, what is this? What is this? But by the end of the first appearance, and definitely into the second and third, you can kind of feel that momentum. Mm-hmm. Audiences started getting Stefon right away. Do you remember watching those in the moment? Maybe kind of how you felt about it when you first saw it?
Yeah, absolutely. You see so many characters tried on Weekend Update. And so you wait to see if they're going to land or not. Absolutely. And when you think about how Stefon's story ended, it's a perfect example of how much love the audience had for him and that we were cheering for a wedding for him.
Yes.
He really connected with people. But yes, I think I don't even know that they were sure that that's how much they would lean into the breaking part of it and the absurdity of what they were saying. I think that was probably kind of funny and like, okay, that's, fun writing. But then when they realized that there was a bit of magic there, they just went overboard with it in the best way possible.
Yeah, definitely. Are there any moments during Stefon's Weekend Update appearances that maybe like stand out to you? I know I have a couple things just have been rattling in my head for the last decade. But what about you?
Oh my goodness. I just laughed the whole time. I don't know. Please tell me which ones you have so I can laugh at them again.
So there was this one. So there was this line that's been, it was season 38. So it was like 10 years ago.
There's a special guest. Have you heard of Blackula, the Black Dracula?
Yes.
Well, they have a Jewish Dracula.
Oh. What's his name?
Sidney Applebaum.
Okay. Sidney Applebaum? Jewish Dracula. Sidney Applebaum.
And that just joke construction of like misdirection or whatever comedic term that is has just been rattling in my brain for almost 10 years. Every now and then I'll just be like zoning out and I'll think of Stefon talking about the Jewish Dracula and how his name was Sidney Applebaum. And yeah, just that joke construction and how it was, we talk about Bill's delivery of those lines and his interplay with Seth, like something like that has just takes up residency in my head, like probably permanently.
Yeah. I do remember the way that he put his hands in front of his face. That became a thing. I remember you could just make that motion to your friends and everyone knew at that time that you were imitating Stefon. That became very much a visual cue of kind of like this character. And he was quite literally trying to stifle his own laughter when it first started. But I remember doing that with friends and we would know that that's who you were talking about. A lot of the jokes were made at the expense of diminutive folks. Mm-hmm. And so I don't want to repeat them, but There was some funny stuff. There really was some great writing there. I could hear John Mulaney's voice through it all, the nuances of New York City and having grown up there and all those little details. That rang clear for me.
He's really taking you to the underbelly of the city right there. Yeah, I love it. There's also just random things like just an out of the blue Wilford Brimley impression.
So come on down this weekend. The bouncer is a bulldog who looks like Wilford Brimley, and the password is diabetes.
Yes.
That he did in one of the sketches. There was the Derek Zoolander when Ben Stiller appeared with him, and he played Derek Zoolander. So there's just so many memorable moments, and that came from, you said that partnership between Bill and John Mulaney, and we got to credit, Bill's comedic genius. Honestly, it's genius. He makes it look easy, but that's the kind of genius part of it, is how easy he makes it look so much.
Yeah. Oh, Stefon is down in history for sure.
Yeah, one of my favorites. I started seeing people dress up as Stefon for Halloween. Like,
that's when you know
early on. Absolutely. I think it maybe only took a handful of appearances on Weekend Update for people to start dressing up as Stefon for Halloween. You're right. That's how you know you made it. So yeah, definitely congratulations, Bill. So I wanted to kind of delve in a little bit to another thing that reminds me of his partnership with John Mulaney, and I wanted to kind of spring a little game on you, a little trivia game. So don't feel pressure. It's okay. It's okay. But we're gonna do a little trivia game here. You've played Two Truths and a Lie. I'm sure you do. You know what that game is?
Yes, long time ago.
Okay, so we're going to do Two Truths and a Lie. So I'm going to name 3 things. It's involving game shows that Bill Hader hosted on SNL.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm going to name 3 titles of game shows, 2 of which are true, and 1 of which is not the actual title of a game show. So
got it. Hit me.
All right. So the first one is Who's on Top?
Okay.
All right. Second one is Why Are You Like This?
Mm-hmm.
And the third one is What's Wrong with Tanya? Which one of those is not a game show that Bill
What's
Hader
Wrong
hosted?
with Tanya is a fantastic sketch.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes.
They
You want to explain it
every
yes.
Lifetime trope possible. Visually, the way that the characters are dressed, the catchphrases, the melodrama. Oh, I love that one. So I know that one's true.
That one's true. Yeah. Bill Hader did host a game show called What's Wrong with Tanya?
Why Are You Like
on
This?
The show.
And Who's on Top?
And Who's on Top?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to guess that Why Are You Like This is true.
Who's on Top is actually the one, the other one that's true. That was with, they would name kind of like, I guess, two male celebrities, and then they would figure out like if they made love, who's on top.
Yes.
So that was one. Why Are You Like This is one that I created.
Sounds funny. There you go.
That I could picture Bill actually hosting. So Bill was a consummate game show host on the show, and with as many game show sketches as the show tends to do, which is understandable. It's an easy kind of vehicle for comedy, and Keenan is probably the game show, the kind of current game show host. But Bill was just the best game show host.
I agree. He's number one for me.
Yeah.
He's number one for me in terms of game show hosts.
Yeah, definitely.
One of my favorites was What's That Name?
Mm-hmm. And that's what I was going to bring up. Yeah, you want to talk about What's That Name?
Yeah, What's That Name? I also just love that it was so darn true. It was it revealed something about all of us that we are absolutely horrible at and should be ashamed of. I'm generalizing clearly, but yes, I can name. I don't watch the Kardashians, but I could name them. But I don't know all my neighbors. I don't. It's. I know people by their dogs' names. It's embarrassing and horrible. And it played right into that in a really fun way. And it was incredibly well written. That is one of the best versions of a game show for me on SNL.
Yeah, it might be my favorite, or probably like the Mount Rushmore of game shows on SNL. Just the whole, how sadistic that Bill was as the game show host in that. And I think in one appearance, John Mulaney asked, like, why do you do this? And he's just so like confused and everything. And Bill's just, just this, he's just getting pleasure out of embarrassing and kind of almost torturing these poor people who can't remember names. Yeah, just amazing.
It's such a funny commentary too. Like, when there are so many ridiculous game shows out there, and people really do sign up to be embarrassed so much of the time. We get to see people get hit by things and knocked over, and so I do like that it's commenting on just how much people are willing for a moment of television fame, or a few dollars if they win, to embarrass the heck out of themselves and be that shamed on television.
Yeah, exactly. And Bill's just the perfect person to highlight that. Yep. I think he also did Dylan McDermott, or Dermot Mulroney, which I still have trouble with to this day. I would have not won that game show, and Bill would have shamed me for it.
Now, speaking of shows,
yes,
can I bring up one of our favorite TV show hosts that he does? Keith Morrison.
Keith Morrison from Dateline.
Yes.
Yeah. What was it about Keith Morrison? Or his impression of Keith Morrison?
Very distinct voice, which he nails. Very distinct voice. But similarly, someone who gets a little too excited about the tragic circumstances that are being, just explained by the guests on the Dateline show.
I looked for him for weeks and weeks. Finally, the police called me, and they found his car.
And what did they find when they opened up the trunk of that car?
It was my boyfriend's body.
Oh, my. Was he all right?
No, he was dead.
Oh, no.
I remember at one point thinking, Keith Morrison in real life is not, like how much is he exaggerating Keith Morrison's overzealous interest at times? He's really not. Keith Morrison does get pretty excited. Oh, like it does happen. But then he grabs the popcorn and he wants all the gory details. Listen, I'm a true crime podcast listener with the best of them. And so that's definitely playing into our morbid curiosity to slow down for the car crash. So I like that he leans into that. But it is the voice that he nails on that one for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned that he found a comedic angle to that impression too, because I think Bill understands that you need that comedic hook. Yeah. I love when he would play Keith Morrison on SNL. And you had talked earlier about Bill's, the way he uses his face during sketches and when he's performing. And a great example, I think, of that is the Game Time sketches when he played the Greg the Alien, who's not supposed to be an alien, and just the way he would say things and then kind of like turn his face sideways and look at the camera. Just that, like, so much of that was just facial acting, and he found this creepy alien voice, and I don't know. I actually don't know who wrote those sketches, but if it wasn't Bill, I think Bill was first in line as far as who they had in mind to play Greg the Alien, and that's one of the more underrated SNL sketches, probably of like the last, of this era, and of course Bill is like the main part of it.
I agree. I don't know who else I could see playing that with the same level of skill. It would feel silly, but he made it feel very real.
Yeah, because he does sound effects too. He doesn't just do voices. He just does these like subtle sound effects and body movements. And this is going to reveal a lot about me. I've never seen an alien in person. But if I did, I think Bill's version of an alien it seems realistic.
Right.
He made me believe that he was actually an alien in a realistic way. So, him playing Greg and game time with him. We actually, in one of the sketches, we saw other cast members and a few writers, and John Hamm actually try to be Greg a little bit when it was found out that Greg can turn other people into aliens and then they can duplicate. So there was one point where Bill Hader was there as Greg, John Hamm was sitting next to him as another Greg, and then there was all these Gregs that popped up behind them. And I just tried to notice their facial expressions. Sudeikis did a decent job of it, but Bill Hader is just the master, just the way he contorts himself just to slide into a character is so wonderful. Is there anything else that jumps out at you?
Yeah, when we're thinking of characters that aren't actual people, I think of the Cat in the Hat.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember, he's in the Cat in the Hat. He's talking to the kids. The mom, Cecily Strong, comes home and he breaks character and, Linda. And all of a sudden it's this Mrs. Doubtfire kind of situation where they have a very real conversation about their failing marriage. Meanwhile, he's in this Cat in the Hat. Or not even the marriage, but he's I think he wants her to leave her husband or something. And so funny. And taking a character like that's not real and having some fun with it. Or, the faces that he makes as LeVar, the coal mining gossip, the gossipy coal miner.
Mm-hmm.
Just so silly. But approaches them with a lot of conviction and then uses that elastic face to create these really fun and bizarre and unique characters.
Yes, he has a face with elasticity. That's a huge compliment, especially when you're working in the visual medium like SNL. And I can't think of many cast members who could use their face to such degree like that, where they can garner that type of reaction from viewers. Mm-hmm. For sure. One of my all-time favorite sketches, and it's interesting because we're talking about Bill Hader's SNL Hall of Fame candidacy, and this is one of my all-time favorite sketches, but it might not be my favorite Bill Hader sketch. It's the puppet class.
I have this on my list with so many circles around it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, what did you like about the puppet class sketch?
Anthony Peter Coleman.
Yes.
I just have to sigh for a moment because I remember first seeing it, and every single time I've watched any of those since, I laugh just as hard. It's so dark and strange, and I'm at a loss for words. I absolutely love that character and that sketch, and I recently watched the one with Family Guy.
Yeah, Seth MacFarlane.
Thank you, Seth MacFarlane.
Mm-hmm.
And every character on that one nailed it. Keenan nailed it as the ooh, can I try again? That guy. And then
and it was also Vanessa Bayer.
Thank you. Vanessa Bayer was, she was in there. But oh my gosh, yes. What do you think? Because that is one of my favorites. I have it circled so many times here, and I have no words. I just love it so much.
Yeah, I love it so much too. And it's Bill's commitment to the bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminded me, I don't know that we saw Bill break very much other than Stefon. Because if there was a sketch to break in, that could have been it. And Keenan didn't break, Vanessa didn't break, Seth MacFarlane didn't break. Everybody just held it together. And Bill, I don't know, there was jokes that were kind of bait and switch in that too. And Bill's timing made it when he changed characters. Seth MacFarlane's character told them to change their personas of their puppets.
Anthony, do you want to try a completely different character for Tony?
Okay. I like texting. Shock till you drop. Da-da-da-da-da-da. George it.
Okay, that's kind of Bonnie's character, though, isn't it? You maybe want to try something else?
All right.
I'm Clark, and I like biscuits and waffles.
That's great. Tell us more about Clark.
He was another grunt in my platoon.
He just goes back into his old military persona and starts telling a really dark story involving Clark. And it's kind of that bait and switch, and you need perfect timing to get a joke like that down. And I think Bill definitely accomplished that.
I don't know how he didn't break. I do not know how he didn't break in that one. Let's see. He broke in Stefon. I've seen him break a couple times on the Californians.
That's right.
Because that was so silly.
That was just that's the silliest thing.
Yeah, and he did break when he dumped this slushy over Kristen Wiig's head and then the colander when they were doing Hollywood Dish. But I do not know how he didn't break during Anthony Peter Coleman. And if anyone who's listening has not seen those, go watch them all immediately and enjoy the brilliance of that character in those sketches.
Yeah, that's one. If we were to walk into the SNL Hall of Fame and there's like a highlight reel playing of Bill Hader, I think the puppet class would be definitely predominant. Like Dom would take up a huge place in that highlight reel, for sure. He tried to make people break when he played Herb Welch.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. I think that was him, trying to just mess with his scene partner and and try to make people break with that. Definitely.
Yeah, that was a good one too. That one was really enjoyable because it was just kind of harmless fun. This kind of doddering old gent who would, obviously hit people in the face or what have you with his giant foam microphone cover. And then the acoustics of that hitting, the audio, like there were a lot of funny elements in that. And I recall that he would sometimes hit someone and he would keep going. Like you'd know that he felt like it was right to just, again, trying to break them, but that the moment made it that much more ridiculous that he would keep bonking them on the head with it. Yes, that was a memorable character also.
Are there any other sketches or characters before we head on out that we kind of have to talk about as far as Bill Hader goes?
One of my favorites is A Cut for Time, and it was The Allen.
Okay, you might have to explain that one to me.
Oh, so Vanessa Bayer and Taran Killam are a couple. They come home from a date. In their living room is a giant wrapped box, human-sized box, huge. And they unwrap it, and it looks almost like a Ken doll is in there. And there's a manual, and it's for something called the Allen, and it's just there for your enjoyment. And it's almost like you can have a remote control.
Okay.
And he's got this ridiculous song that he kind of dances to, and he makes ridiculous facial expressions like, oh, shucks, oh, yeah. And there are actually funny compilations online of that as a meme where him dancing actually works well with any song.
Oh, okay.
So that's a fun one to look up. But the Allen, sometimes Cut for Times are so brilliant, and I'm glad they share them with us because otherwise they'd be lost, and they're great sketches. But the Allen I go to frequently just because it's so silly and ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up. I need to brush up more on my Cut for Time SNL fandom there. That could be a blind spot for a lot of people. So thanks for bringing that up. And the way I think what you described in that sketch, like his body movements and everything, that reminded me of another one that I highlighted real quick was the Maryville trolley ride.
Yes.
If you remember that, that's him, Taran Killam. And then I think Jim Carrey and Bruno Mars. Jim Carrey was in one sketch with him and Bruno Mars was in another. But Taran, by the way, this episode's not about Taran Killam, but props to Taran Killam for his acting in that sketch too. But the way Bill just moved like an animatronic sort of person is just like it's a sight to behold for me to watch people who can just have such command of their bodies that way.
And the look in his eyes and that kind of stare that he had. Yeah, I love that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So what is your final case for Bill Hader? Like, why should Bill Hader be in the SNL Hall of Fame?
He is, as I've mentioned, a master impressionist. Top of the pack. Maybe even the top. He is utterly reliable as a scene partner, as a performer, as a member of that cast, and a chameleon. We've seen him as every TV host. We've seen him as, choked up dad. We've seen him as, a realizing he's possibly gay fireman. Vincent Price and all of these other characters, Colonel Nasty. Like this runs such a gamut when it comes to characters. So he definitely gets chameleon, reliability, and master impressionist, which to me is the perfect recipe for someone on SNL.
That's well said. Almost like he was created to be a cast member on SNL in a way.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Kirstin, thank you so much. I hope people are swayed by hearing you talk about Bill Hader. I know you have a lot of passion for him, and yeah, thank you so much for joining me.
You bet.
All right. What a conversation there between Kirstin Turnbull and Thomas Senna. If you were not considering voting for Bill Hader before, I get the impression that you've probably changed your mind. Hader, solid gold performer, and would truly enhance the Hall of Fame were he to be added to it. Kirstin has also sent along a sketch that she feels represents, what Bill Hader is capable of at his highest level. And we're going to give that a listen to right now. It's a Stefon Christmas. So let's give that a spin right now. Take it away, Seth.
It's Christmas time in New York, which means millions will be heading to the city to celebrate. Here with some tips on what New York can offer is our city correspondent, Stefon.
Hi.
Stefon, how have you been?
The same.
Okay. So, Stefon, lots of people are heading here for a great New York Christmas. Do you have any tips on what they can see and do?
Yes. If you're here from Ohio or whatever, look no further. New York's hottest club is Ounce. Located in the middle of the East River, this place has everything. Cholos, puke people, a sheepdog that looks like Bruce Valanche, and an entire room of puppets doing karate.
I'm sorry, and why are puppets doing karate?
Because it's that thing of when someone calls Miss Piggy fat and she goes, hi-ya!
Stefon, when I said, fun things for the holiday, yes. I meant things that were a little more normal. Mm-hmm. Can you think of any things that might be a little more sort of like classic New York holiday?
Mm-hmm. Yes. If you want your Christmas in New York to be classic, look no further. New York's hottest club is Ounce. This lower East Side dump is a creation of club owner Tranderson Cooper. And it finally answers the question, do I have to? This place has everything. Schizos, kite enthusiasts. And that's not all. Look who just came in. It's Blingo.
Sorry, Blingo?
Black Ringo.
Oh. Stefon, buddy, I don't know how to say this, but look, I was brought up to respect people from all walks of life.
Tolerance?
Yeah. And I am glad that you have a world you feel comfortable in.
Dungeon culture, yes.
But look, buddy, I'm kind of an old-fashioned guy, born and raised in New Hampshire.
A glimpse into Seth Meyers.
Okay. And I wanted to help folks,
Folks.
Yeah, folks. And I want them to find some good old-fashioned Christmas cheer.
Yes.
No, Stefon, can you help us with that?
Yes.
Okay.
If you're old or into fashion, I've got the place for you. New York's hottest holiday club is Blitzen. And right now, they're having their 12 days of Christmas dance party.
Oh, 12 Days of Christmas. Now, see, that sounds nice.
Because it has everything. 12 jacked albinos, 11 little Richards, 10 piercered babies, 9 Asian Balkies, 8 gay Aladdins, 7 psycho swearing, 6 Puerto screechins, Puerto Rican screeches.
Of course. Of course, yeah. We all knew that.
5 homeless Elmos. 4 coked up frogs, 3 French hens, Taylor Negron. And a human parking cone.
So...
Lay it on me, my man. What's your question?
All right. The question was, what's a human parking cone?
Yes, it's that thing of when 2 jacked midgets paint themselves orange and you have to parallel park between them.
It's that thing. That's the thing it is. Stefon,
I've done it.
I'm going to ask you a serious question. Stefon, don't you ever just want to have a normal Christmas?
Well, I would, but no one ever invites Steph on a normal Christmas.
Well, look, Stefon, would you like to come to New Hampshire with me?
He asked me.
Stefon, everybody.
I'm on top.
No, there's no top about my good friend Stefon.
All right, that was Stefon's Christmas, or Stefon Christmas. I'm not sure what the actual desk piece title was, but we'll call it Stefon's Christmas. Really a nice piece, illustrating exactly what Hader and Mulaney, for that matter, can get up to with these Stefon sketches. We're building on the meta-ness here with Seth and Stefon. The relationship is moving in this. So, all in all, just a real great piece. And we hope you enjoyed it. And we hope you enjoyed the entire episode today. For Thomas, Matt, Kirstin, and everybody else involved in the production of this show, we'll talk to you next week. But for now, turn out the lights, because the SNL Hall of Fame is closed.
Thanks for listening to the SNL Hall of Fame podcast. Make sure to rate, review, share, and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on social media at SNL HOF. This is Doug Denant saying, see you next week.
To podcasts and such.